This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
If you're a seeker, don't miss the inspiring book Shamanic Awakening, Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Cochran's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers throughout the Americas. Sandy's initiations across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, combined with her knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth, influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private readings, sacred international journeys, a meditative CD, and her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate your earth walk and create a deeper connection to yourself. Find this and more at her website, starwalkervisions.com.
Hi, curious minds. Welcome to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. That's me. We're the only radio station and the only radio show in the world dedicated to the study of coincidences, synchronicity, and serendipity. We're coming to you through X-Zone Radio Broadcasting Network, located in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and broadcasting all over the world. I'm a psychiatrist. I help people with medications and psychotherapy. I work in both mind and the brain. Synchronicity is spoken here. Coincidences alert us to the mysterious hiding in plain sight. Put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and find my Psychology Today blog, my website, and my social media site. Would you like to know how sensitive you are to coincidences? Take the Weird Coincidence survey on my website. Remember, just put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and you'll find my social media connections, my website, and get to that Weird Coincidence survey to test your sensitivity. Today we're talking about movies, and particularly one movie. We're talking with a director of a movie called What is Synchronicity, David Strabala. Movies provide us with numerous coincidences, and their plot lines often contain coincidences. Those coincidences help move the plot right along. There's an old Chinese saying, no coincidence, no story. And some coincidences in movies are subtle, and some of them are not so subtle. There was one Woody Allen movie I was watching kind of off and on, paying attention, especially when Woody started falling asleep in the back seat of a taxi. He was concerned about his relationship with a woman, not sure just how strong it was, when suddenly the camera finds him waking up, looking out of the window, riding around in Manhattan. And what do you know? He looked out that window, and there was his girlfriend with another man. What a coincidence. Movies set up coincidences like that, and sometimes they're just too obvious. Perhaps one of the most memorable coincidences in movie history involved Rick's American Cafe. You may remember that Rick's American Cafe was owned by a character played by Humphrey Bogart. It was Rick's Cafe, into which something happened. He was having a drink, smoking a cigarette, listening to the piano, when suddenly he heard a familiar song. You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. He looked up, and there was his girlfriend from Paris walking in to his cafe in northern Africa. Paris to northern Africa is Rick's American Cafe. His memorable line as he looked up and saw her, of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Walking into his gin joint with her husband set off a plot line that is so memorable and was so impressive, it gained an Academy Award in 1943. Alfred Hitchcock used to like to say, movies are like life with the boring parts taken out. And movies like Casablanca and even Woody Allen's movie show us on the screen that coincidences are a major part of what happens to us in our lives. David Strabala was interested in coincidences for quite a long time. He wanted to know something about how they worked. And as he will tell us, he got interested in them enough to be able to create a movie. What is synchronicity? To try to answer that very important question. In this movie, David went around the country asking various experts, both renowned and not, about what they thought synchronicity was and how it worked. I was one of those people that David interviewed in the backyard of my house in Columbia, Missouri, where I lived at the time. And it was a great pleasure to meet David and talk with him about what he was doing and the tremendously important work that is associated with his attempts to try to answer the question about what is synchronicity. The movie premiered at the Wild Rose Film Festival in Des Moines and won several awards there. And as we go into our next segment, David will tell us how he got started. I hope some of the major synchronicities that took place while he was making that movie, and what kind of answers he may have gotten that have impressed him about how synchronicities work and how they can be helpful to us in our lives. We'll be back after a short break.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Welcome back to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, the only radio show in the world dedicated to the study of synchronicity, coincidences, and serendipity. It's a great pleasure to have as my guest today David Strabala, who is the director of a very, very good movie about synchronicity called What is Synchronicity? David works as a full-time counselor in the juvenile office at Clay County, Missouri. He also works part-time in a healing program for veterans and first responders with post-traumatic stress. His affiliation with the program called Warriors Ascent resulted from the film's publicity and a mutual appreciation for depth psychology. David, welcome to Connecting with Coincidence.
Thank you, Bernie. It's really great to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
And I'm very glad to have you with me. It was a pleasure to be in the movie with you. And how'd you get started with this, David? I mean, you're a counselor. You're interested in depth psychology, but it was a tremendous undertaking for you to create this movie.
Yes, it was. I had no idea what I was getting into. I'd never made a film before. I did have a journalism background. I did that for about 7 years before I got my MSW. But I didn't. My focus in journalism was not on anything to do with film. So it was large. It was a big learning curve. I think one place. There are many places I could start to tell people about this, but since I work with teenagers, I think it fits to focus there. And one of the things I try to teach them is that they're going through a passage or an initiation. And what synchronicity has done is helped me focus on my own initiation when I was about their age. So I'll start with that. Actually, it was when I was 12 years old, and I'm from a huge family. I'm the youngest of 13 children. And one of my sisters...
13?
Yes. Yeah, maybe you didn't know that.
I didn't.
Yes. So there are certain things that go with being the youngest of a large family like that. And I certainly see, what went on before me and all of that, various patterns. So that's...
You have to become a big observer of everything.
Exactly. Very true. And there's 27 years between my oldest sister and me. So it's really spread out, and I'm almost a family unto myself, almost an only child within that huge family. My next sister, number 12 in the family, is 5 years older. So
yeah.
If you can get that picture. So, but when I was 12, my sister Joan, who was 31 at the time, she died. And for me, it was pretty unexpected. I didn't know how seriously ill she was till about a week before she died. And it came on still, though, pretty suddenly. And I looked at the patterns of what was going on right before she died. She was really like a second mother to me. And the summer before she died in September. And the summer before she died, she had a baby, and the baby was born before then. But I spent that summer over there a lot because of that baby, and they only lived about 3 blocks from me, so I was there almost every day, and I had the joy of being around her and the baby and her husband, and I just had a great connection with them. Well, I also got to see how happy my sister was to have that baby, and then in August, what also occurred that was pretty tight was my parents had their 40th wedding anniversary. So we were all together, siblings that lived out of state and extended family all showed up for a big gathering in August. And within a little bit more than a month after that, my sister died. And so I looked at that when she died. It was the first time I'd ever experienced someone close to me dying. And I looked at the amazing aspects of that summer and how I got so much quality time with her and her child, and how the family did, through that gathering of the anniversary. And I just that opened me up. That's what kind of triggered my way of looking at life, that had to do with kind of looking at the background, seeing what patterns might be unfolding and how the energy was flowing in certain ways, and to pay attention to that. So that's one place it got started. Now, you want me to jump to
Go ahead. The major family gathering, the death of a loved one, those are the kinds of emotional transitional experiences that are seedbeds for synchronicity and coincidences.
Yes, and so I do look at them a lot during those transitional times, beginnings and endings. Well, so fast forward now to, I believe it was 2007. I was working with I think it was a 15-year-old boy who was in a group home, and I'd gotten to know him a few times, a few sessions before, and then this one session he says to me, well, I've just been in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot. and I thought, yeah, that's true for so many of us at many ages, but especially teenagers. So I said to him, what would it be like to be in the right place at the right time? And I'd never asked a client that before that I could remember. It just kind of came up like that. And it led to a very fruitful discussion for about 20 minutes. And, we looked at, if you're out after midnight, that might not be a good thing. You might be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Various basic things, but also things that were personal to him. So at the end of that, he says to me, that was pretty cool. He says, you ought to write a book about that topic. And it just floored me, and it stuck. It just
a book about how to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and about synchronicity. I had just kind of begun to introduce him to the ideas of synchronicity. So, yeah. And so
do you remember what kind of advice you were giving him about increasing the probability of being in the right place at the right time?
I think it was basic things about being close to what he loved more deeply was one thing. Some were things that parents would tell their kids, don't be out late, bad things happen, and in the wee morning hours, and what friends are you hanging around, what kind of influence do they have on you?
Yeah.
But to get in touch with his heart and more deeply what he really wants to be doing. And if he feeds that, then that gives him a better chance of having right place, right time experience.
Such a great message. As part of the way people can increase coincidences is by tuning in to that inner teacher, their heart, that voice, that feeling inside of them that says go here, go there, or don't go here, go there. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So that really stuck, and I kind of tried to shake it, actually, because I didn't feel like, as humans, we tend to play ourselves too small, and I'm certainly one of those that has to address that periodically. And so I had to I talked to a lot of different people about the idea of a book, and everybody was... The more I looked at it and the more I talked to people, somebody said, I met one person who was an actress, and something about just meeting her shifted me to a little subtle hint inside me said, what about a movie? Because there are many books already out there, but as far as I knew, there weren't any films, documentaries about synchronicity. So then I started looking at that. And I just kind of kept putting myself in positions where better things, could happen, right place, right time. So that's one way I try to look at it or interact with it, is to kind of put myself in the way of those possibilities, and thinking, what could happen here. And I can tell you one way I did that, as far as how I met my director of photography, David Gilmore. I began by hanging around film groups in the Kansas City area, and one was called Women in Film, if I remember correctly, and they were open to both genders coming, hanging around some of their things, and there was a woman coming to town making a film having to do with teenage girls that were in trouble, which was up my alley anyway, and so they were just looking for anybody that could help in small ways, and if you didn't have experience, it didn't matter. So I showed up on the set that weekend. And I was just kind of a gopher and, hanging around. And I met David there. He was doing the sound for the shoot. And I got to talking to him about, I kind of get this idea I might do a film about synchronicity, and that's why I'm here, and just kind of learning about it. And he goes, oh, that's interesting. He knew about it. I mean, a lot of people don't really know that term all that well, but he was familiar with Carl Jung and so forth. And so we developed a connection that weekend. So then at the end, what really grabbed me, we were walking out to the parking lot to get to our cars, and he turns to me and he goes, "Are you really going to do that film?" It was like, get serious here, put up or shut up. It was I couldn't just waffle. I couldn't be ambivalent. I felt like I had to be definitive, because it seemed like he really wanted to help. And so I turned, maybe hesitated 2 seconds, and I went, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so then I was in. Then I felt myself kind of jumping in the ocean. And so it was a few months later.
I'll pick out two things from what you said.
Yes.
Running into the actress shifted you from novel or book to movie. That, and without going into how that happened, that was a right place, right time thing for you,
yes.
Where somebody switched you. And
yes.
then going to the Women in Film thing, you were kind of looking around. You were more open even then to something happening. And there along comes the other David and says, hey, baby, you better do this, put up or shut up. And it's that you were putting yourself in positions of being open, much like you were describing what your teenage person needed to be able to do too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing about being a therapist is, the clients teach me as much
yes,
or more.
Well, we got to listen to what we're telling them, because we're talking to ourselves sometimes.
That's right. I totally agree. Yeah. So,
could you? I want to hear more of it, but we're getting near the end of this segment, and I want to be able to have you tell our listeners how they can view your film, how they can get a hold of it, and how they can get it, how they can see it.
Yes, love to. There are two ways. First of all, you can go to my website, is the best connection, and that is simply www.whatissynchronicity.com.
All one word.
All one word, whatissynchronicity.com. And you can either purchase a DVD through the website, or you can stream it either for rental or purchase through Vimeo, again, through the website. Or just go straight to Vimeo and look me up there.
Okay, good. What is Synchronicity? Your website, and they'll get to the movie.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So in the next, we have about a minute left. Could you tell us what your next step is, and we can continue in the next segment?
Okay. Kind of my next step with where I am
in getting to making this movie.
Okay. So I'll give you a minute's worth here. So a few months goes by, and I remembered about David, and I was kind of looking for that moment when I would really, take a first step with it. And what happened was I noticed that there was a stand-up philosopher named Tim Freak from the UK who was coming to Kansas City. And I did as many of my interviews as I could locally with people that passed through. And he was part of a program with the Friends of Jung here in Kansas City. And I thought, I'd seen him before, and I thought, he would be great if he'd, for the film. So I reached out to David at that point. I said, hey, I think this might be my jumping in point, to get an interview going. And David said, perfect. He said, I just finished a project. He said, I'm looking for something new. And so we met. over coffee, and I didn't exactly have a one-page summary done like a lot of filmmakers want you to have, but we talked for 2 or 3 hours, and I presented a few ideas and kind of my vision for it, and that's how it started.
Very good, very good. Well, we'll be back after a short break talking with David Strabala, director of What is Synchronicity?
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Welcome back to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, the only radio show in the world dedicated to coincidences, synchronicity, and serendipity. Our guest today is David Strabala, director of the movie What is Synchronicity? Trying to answer that question that all of us in this business are trying to do. What is it? What is synchronicity? Well, David, you described how you got to begin the movie. What are some of the synchronicities that happened while you were doing it?
Well, some of them were simply how interviews fell into place. I mean, some of it was that simple, or maybe not simple, but amazing as far as contacting certain people, and then maybe I wouldn't hear back for a few weeks. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, it looks like that's not going to work out. And then suddenly I hear from them, and it's all a go. And, so things like that happened. There were 4 of my sources in the film that were in California, and the way those 4 fell together within 1 week was an example of that. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that happened quite a bit.
So the California one, for example, you had 4 people, and you could do them all within one visit because it all fell together. Yeah, that's the sort of thing I'm looking for, because I once went to California to do a film about something else, an interview, and it just happened that the right person I needed, a patient of mine from Columbia, Missouri, ended up right about a couple of 30 minutes from where that I needed to do that interview. It is so wonderful when stuff like that falls into place.
Yeah, and part of what made it so tight was, as I recall, one of the people, Michael Mead, who's a mythologist, he was doing a shoot for some other film out there, and he had so many activities going on, and he wanted to do the interview with me, but he's like, I'm not sure when, and so he told me about this other shoot he was doing on this one day, and he said maybe we could squeeze it in, at the same time, the same morning or afternoon. So we did. And so I just kind of had to go with that as my anchor point, and then I contacted the other 3 people, and they all were good to go that week.
Beautiful.
Definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful. It gives you a nice feeling when stuff falls into place like that. I am when I get into really doing the coincidence stuff, I see more coincidences myself. So when you're doing this movie, your life had to be loaded not just around the movie, but in your life outside of it with coincidences.
Yes. I'll tell you one of my favorite synchronicities that I had, and this is like connected with the starting point of this of the filming. So the first interview with Tim Freak that I referred to earlier, we got that set up, and Tim was very willing to do it. So that was getting it set up was no problem at all. And so David, my director of photography, said to me, "Well, if you can get there about an hour ahead of time to help me set up, that'd be great." And so I planned on that. Well, what happened was I went to print out my questions for the interview, and my printer, for some reason, wasn't working. So now I had to run and take a flash drive and run to the library nearby in order to get it printed out, and that made me about 20 minutes late. And I'm frustrated and anxious and thinking, oh, what a poor first impression I'm leaving to get this thing started. And so I'm rushing to get to my car, and I jump in the car, and I turn on the radio as soon as I start driving off, and the song that's playing is none other than Synchronicity 2 by the Police.
Oh, good.
And it just blew me away. It was kind of one of those things where I sort of laughed and cried at the same time. But it gave me a sense of confidence that somehow it was okay. It didn't matter. And indeed it didn't. David was like, no big deal. And he and Tim both really enjoyed it, what happened there. Tim even says to me, maybe you ought to contact Sting and see if he would be interviewed. So I put that, I thought, it didn't seem like it'd be a very high chance of that, but I thought, why not at least hold on to that idea? So I waited a little while till I had much more of the film done, and I had a few things up on the website, and I thought, I'm going to give this a shot, just because I would feel remiss if I didn't try, So I found somebody helped me find who his agent was in New York, I believe it was, and I think I had a phone number, and I called up, and I I get this young woman on the phone, and I tell her why I'm calling and what I'm doing, and I wanted to reach out to his agent and so forth. And she sounded very positive. She's like, "Oh, that's a great idea, blah, blah, blah." It was very encouraging, and it kind of surprised me. And I thought, oh, surely it can't be quite so easy. And so then she gave me the name of the agent, and I emailed the agent, and as I really expected, within a couple days, she got back to me and said, well, he is just really busy and, not doing interviews at this time. But, it was a very nice letter that she sent me, a nice note. And but I felt good about having gone through that process. And
there's a couple of things there.
Yeah, go ahead.
The appearance of Synchronicity 2 on the radio and had its calming effect on you. It made you feel everything was okay in the world that you were running around in right then. And that is one of the remarkably consistent effects of some coincidences, that it makes you feel like it's okay. It's like somebody's watching over you, that there's somebody taking care of you. There's somebody saying it's okay. Now, when I get more and more deeply into these coincidences and come up with much more low probability ones than yours, which was still a low probability one has to begin to think there's something else going on here. There's something that makes this happen that's beyond probability. So it opens up the possibility to what I call the psychosphere, our mental atmosphere that has something to do with how we're interconnected with each other. And that's one part of what you're saying there. But the second part is even more interesting to me. I am tomorrow going to begin to sound engineer with a friend of mine 5 or 6 songs that are based on stories from my book, Connecting with Coincidence. These songs are stories put to music. And the only other artist who's done Synchronicity songs is Sting. And that's Synchronicity 2 rather than Synchronicity 1. So I'm going to try to get from you the name of that agent because I want to see if I can follow up on your lead.
Well, that absolutely, and see, that shows. I think this whole thing demonstrates that this has to do with ongoing story. Life is just ongoing story, and you don't know what things occur that set something else up later on, and so you just kind of hold it with that wonderment, inside you, and so it's not over. And so here I am helping, by giving you that name. So who knows where things go, and that makes life much more interesting when kids say they're bored. Then I try to talk in these terms. But yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah, that's great to alert the kids to the possibilities. I like to say the dog that trots about finds a bone. Mm-hmm. If you are just sitting there doing nothing, you're not going to be able to do the intersections that help create coincidences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's one other. Should I tell you another story of when I was starting to make the film? Yeah.
These film coincidences are really important.
Okay. So this one is a fun one because it didn't happen directly to me. So I was more of an observer in this case, but it still had an effect on me. Back in 2008, before I actually began to shoot the film, there was a symposium at Texas A&M University on the topic of synchronicity. So somebody told me about it, and I get on the plane from Kansas City, and I'm flying to Houston.
And Joe Cambray was in that one.
Exactly, that's right. So the people that are sitting around me, there's about 8 or 10 people sitting around me. I can tell they're all part of a group, and I get to talking to them, and the woman sitting next to me turns out she's the wife of the pastor of this church, and this gathering of people from the church is going on some kind of a mission to, I forget which country, somewhere in Central America, and first time they've ever done anything like this. So we're talking, and I'm telling her about my interest in synchronicity and what I'm up to with that, and we're having a great conversation about it, and a few other people are kind of hearing about it and engaging it as well. Well, maybe we're into it 10 minutes or so, and suddenly I look over. I'm looking at the pastor across the aisle, and he begins to raise his water bottle up just to take a sip of water. And right at that point, there was turbulence, and the plane just dropped big time. and it spilled water all over his face, all over his shirt. And I just instantly I caught the synchronicity. I kind of looked around at the other people like, are you picking up on this? And of course, everybody can take it. It does take it in different ways, but I saw the symbolism of, given that it's a church, a kind of a baptism for their mission. This is their first mission, so this is kind of a blessing, you might say, for their initial experience of going there. And here I was on my initial experience of doing one of the very first things toward my project.
The symbolism of everyday life. It takes a poet to see what you just saw.
I suppose so. Yeah. But it's not that I've been practicing that for so long that it just came instantly.
It's just natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of what the synchronicity coincidences help us do is see maybe metaphors and symbols like that where you might not call it necessarily a standard coincidence or synchronicity, but there are all kinds of ways that symbols appear around us and may have messages for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're quite tuned into that.
Yes.
You're quite tuned into that. What have you learned about synchronicity in doing this movie? What are some of the things that you learned that you can tell us?
There's so many things, and I forget where I learned so many of them because I talked to so many people, even outside the film. But I think one of the main things that I think I want to leave people with is the idea that it's alive, because we have a tendency as humans, I think, to, maybe for security or whatever reason, to want to kind of freeze things and control things in our environment, in our lives. And to an extent, we can't help that, but we can kind of fall under a spell or get stuck when we do that. And when we need to loosen up, then synchronicity is one of the ways that we kind of get jolted or kind of reawakened, you might say, back to the vitality of life. And again, for me as a storyteller as well, I'm just constantly looking at life as stories. So we're constantly swimming in that. But like the proverbial fish that doesn't realize it's swimming in water, we get in that kind of a place as well. So I think we need these ongoing reminders of what our life is like and what we're here to do. And it kind of fits with the Jungian idea. It's not just Jungian, but more traditional idea that we come into the world sort of with a mission or a style or a purpose. It goes by different names, but we're not just blank slates coming into the world. And so our soul or deeper self or whatever you want to call that is here for something. It's here for some kind of experience. And certain things then get set up right from the get-go. I mean, we're born into a story depending on the family and the roles and things that we're kind of born into.
And yes, we are.
Yeah.
The waters that you describe, I call them ethereal waters, and I think they're much more real than we understand, and that's one of the things I'm trying to be able to define in this and describing what I call the psychosphere. Mm-hmm. Well, we're getting near the end of this segment. We're talking with David Strabala, director of the movie What is Synchronicity? You can find that movie at his website, whatissynchronicity.com, one word, and order the CD or view it online. There's a lot to learn about synchronicity from David's movie. We'll be back after a short break.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? I'm Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and on The Secret to Everything, we will merge the practical with open investigation into all realms of the mysterious. We will talk to cutting-edge alternative health practitioners, those who inspire and motivate you in business and life, and of course, we will share stories of the paranormal, conspiracy, and cryptozoology. You will transform because of the frequency I carry, the frequencies my guests carry. Life may never be the same after you listen to this program, for the secret to everything is for you, the listener, for those who desire more in every area of their lives and believe that it can still be found. Listen and discover thesecrettoeverything.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back to CC with BB, Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD. That's me, the only radio show in the world dedicated to the study of synchronicity, coincidences, and serendipity. My guest today is David Strabala, the director of the great movie, What is Synchronicity?, that tries to answer that very question that many of us are also trying to answer. So, David, you've learned a lot. You have much to teach us about synchronicity, coincidences. What are some of the most important things to consider about synchronicity?
one way to really begin, it took me back to just a sense of fundamentals, which is that life is waves. Even things that are static, it's hard to remember that they're vibrating. Everything's vibrating in the
Everything's
universe.
vibrating. Everything's vibrating.
So everything's got waves associated with it, and how those waves intersect and flow in and around our lives. We're conscious of very, very few of them, of course. But I think that's where, if I can remember that, and that's a way to remember that life it's constantly alive, but it also seems to be wanting to communicate with me on an ongoing basis. I think Jung and others would point out that some deeper self, or call it what you will, divine self, is trying to reach us on a regular basis. Nowadays we have various tools, of tweeting and texting and all of that. Well, I wonder what if we considered that the unconscious is constantly trying to tweet us or get in touch with us, give us signals to help us and guide us. And so that comes through insight. It comes through dreams that we have at night. It comes through synchronicities or any number of ways, hunches, intuition. So to begin to tune into that becomes a practice. It becomes something that can really, I think, give people a sense of confidence and a calmness, that the more you're in touch with that, the more that you can kind of realize, okay, this will somehow work out. I don't need to panic or whatever, might otherwise happen. And to just kind of hold things more loosely because they're waves. So what might get you from point B to point C isn't going to get you from C to D, and so to be able to kind of loosen up around that. If you want, I could give one of my favorite synchronistic stories that might demonstrate that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So this happened in the early 2000s. I was dating. I just met this woman who I began to date, and she had just come off a divorce very recently. So she was still working through, things related to that naturally. And so there was this kind of sense of needing to go slow about the relationship and not to expect too much in terms of, looking for marriage necessarily, very soon or whatever. So that was kind of a theme of kind of needing to wait for her to do some healing and so forth. And we were together for, I don't know, it might have been a year or so, maybe longer. And I just felt a need to break up with her, or we kind of did, and mutually. And so we did, but it didn't last too long, because what happened was it was about a week after we broke up, and I was driving my car around here in Kansas City, and I took an exit off the interstate and pulled up behind a car. And this car was the exact make and model and color that my ex-girlfriend at that point was driving. But I looked and well, it's not her. But I looked at the license plate, and the license plate was personalized, and it said, "Wait, the number 4, me." And it was a woman driving who had similar color hair as she, and so the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here, and what does it mean? And I almost wanted to have a conversation with this woman in front of me to find out, how did you decide to come up with that license plate and various things? But of course I stayed in my car. But then I was like, well, what do I do here? Is this a sign that I should get back together with her? And I mulled that over, and I thought, I can't be taking this too literally, or, my ego would want to get in there and have that kind of an interpretation. But that's the thing to watch out for, is the ego wants it their way, but it's actually synchronicity is much more about transforming the ego, which I think is a big misconception that people can fall into. But so I met up with my ex about a week later, and we decided to have lunch. And we just realized we made a mistake, and we needed to get back together. So we did.
Let's go over that. Let's pause this for a minute. Now, you can hear the rest of it. But the important part for me in this story is seeing that license plate during a time of transition and high emotion. Again, characteristics of increased coincidences. And there was a message there about a decision you had just made. And there's a general tendency, as you implied, to believe, well, maybe didn't imply, that coincidences like that are always beneficial. They're always something that's positive. They're always there to help you. And that sometimes means that when people see a sign like that license plate, that means they should go back. And it's not so much, that's not really the case. It really highlights the decision, maybe gives you a nudge in one direction or another. But I'd like you to be able to talk about, after you finish the story with your girlfriend, about how coincidences can be misused.
Yeah. Well, and so, that can be woven into how this story goes. So, we got back together for several years, and things were going by and large pretty well. And there were many synchronicities that actually we had together as a couple. So it was a very sweet relationship. But after a few years, it wasn't resulting in marriage. And I think we were kind of at a standstill. Like, what are we doing? Are we going to continue this or what? And I began to think back on that synchronicity, and there was a part of me that thought, well, gosh, that should mean that we're destined, to stay together or something like that. But the more I looked at the reality
that one, I sorry to interrupt, but I guess Psychology Today blog post on just that. Does this coincidence mean we are meant to be? And before you go on with the rest, it doesn't mean forever. Yes. These coincidences don't mean this is my person for the rest of my life and on into eternity, because we know that we run into people and have short-term, medium-term relationships with them. We help each other, we are finished with each other, and then we move on. So that sign still could have meant you were meant to be together for some period of time and not forever.
Precisely, yeah, so true. And so what happened was I looked at the reality on the ground, so to speak, and realized, hey, other things are not supporting us staying together. Then I looked again and I said, you know what? All it's telling me, all the license plate is saying is wait for me. Now, I can take that a different way, which is I realized I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And that's what I do. And I realized how much that's been a pattern in my life in various ways, not just in a relationship. Good. So then when I got that, then I went, oh, okay, now I'm getting a deeper meaning. It's been there all along. And so really it means, in this case, stop waiting and be clear about what's really going on and accept that and learn from this. And so I wasn't beating myself up that I did anything wrong. It was just the realization at that point that it lasted as long. We held it together as long as we could. And then it's like, okay, this is it. We each need to move on. And then it was fine.
It just shows me that you have to look at these coincidences even more clearly than we might glance at it at first, because like you, I thought it meant let's get back together. Mm-hmm. But looking at the license plate message more specifically, wait for me is not necessarily get back together. It's more about how you do a lot of waiting.
Yes.
And maybe you shouldn't be doing that so much anymore and being assertive about what it is that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm talking with a person who was a central character in another synchronicity movie called Time is Art, Synchronicity in the Collective Mind, the Collective Dream. Her name is Jennifer Palmer. Are you familiar with that movie?
Yes, I've heard of it. I have not watched it yet, but I know I want to and need to. I've seen the trailer.
Well, the two of you have the best movies. I mean, your movie and this one are the best movies. Both came out in 2015 and show an interest growing in synchronicity and coincidences. And I'm very much hopeful that your movie continues to have success. What's it looking like these days, and where is it going?
That's a great point you're asking there, too, because even as of yesterday, some things developed where I coincidentally met through some people who I think can help me market it in ways that I couldn't have anticipated, that I just did not see coming. I felt like the last year or two I've been a little bit on a holding pattern of not sure how I want to market this thing, but I also need to do some of my own kind of inner work about preparing to do that, shifting from introvert to extrovert, kind of getting that stuff going, and so but it fell into place. So now I have a vision for that, and I think it's going to include a book that will support the movie or kind of be complementary to the movie, and so that's the next thing.
And Jennifer is writing a book that's a complement to the movie. So, and the two of you maybe should be talking with each other. I'll see if I can connect you. We're getting near the end of our segment. You can get a hold of David's movie, What is Synchronicity, at whatisynchronicity.com. And learn a lot about what it is that we're trying to understand through the visual connection with some people who really understand synchronicity and coincidences. And I hope you will enjoy seeing the story that David did of me sitting on the back porch of my house in Columbia, Missouri, talking about my dog Snapper. Thank you very much, David.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much, Bernie.